Hi, this is Matt Lewis from the Daily Caller, and you are listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
Hi, this is Taylor, and while you're listening to all the other great shows here on Vigilant Liberty Radio, be sure to check out my show on Saturday nights called Saturday Night Cigar Lounge. You never know what we're going to talk about. It's always a fun time. That's Saturday Night Cigar Lounge, Saturday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, here on Vigilant Liberty Radio.
Hi, I'm Dustin Hoyt with America Our Way, and you can hear me right here on Vigilant Liberty Radio at 10/9 Central on Thursday nights. We bring you the best in political commentary from the right-wing, conservative, libertarian perspectives coming together and bringing the best content on the internet. Be sure to tune in every week for your favorite shows. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Hey, this is Alfonso Rachel with 20 Pound Sledge and PJTV Zone Nation, and you're listening to VLR.
At Independent Journal Review, we publish news that is objective, fair, and entertaining. As one of the top websites in the United States, it's our duty to bring the absolute best to our readers like you. IJReview.com, your number one source for news and entertainment.
This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. It was funny. We were joking earlier in the first segment about Mike's inability, or almost inability, to get to the radio today because he was up all night playing with his Apple. We were joking about that, but there's a bigger trauma that's going on in the country. We spoke about it yesterday. There's more news coming out today. Fortunately, we have the keen wit, insight, and insider knowledge of the Hollywood scene, a master of analysis of all things cultural, Mark Tapson, on the line, and we're going to talk about the movie Selma and the bigoted, racist snubbing that it received. Mark, welcome to the show.
Welcome back, Mark.
Thanks for having me, gentlemen.
So, but, we need to talk about what Sharpton had to say.
I see that calling you gentlemen really threw you guys for a second there.
Well, yeah, I was speechless.
I think you weren't sure that I was talking to you two.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, but yeah, you threw me there.
The last time anybody said gentlemen to me, I was in a lineup and they said, "Would you gentlemen please organize yourself underneath the numbers?" That's the last time I was called gentlemen. All right, so Tapson, Oscars, racism, and Selma, thoughts?
Well, yes, the whole world is apparently on fire over this unconscionable outrage that all of the nominees are white, all of the Oscar nominees. This is a real first world problem. Boko Haram just massacred 2,000 innocents in Nigeria, but instead our whole country is headed to the gates of Hollywood with torches and pitchforks because the Oscars are too white this year. I haven't seen all the movies nominated. I'm actually going to see Selma this afternoon, so I have not seen that. So I don't know whether some of the Best Actor nominees didn't deserve it, and maybe Selma's David Oyelowo did, or whether the movie's director, Ava DuVernay, who is black, deserved a nomination as well. I don't know. It's all pretty subjective anyway. But, to me, the problem is that our national conversations about anything now always get hijacked by a very vocal, race-obsessed minority. I'm looking at you, Al Sharpton. And that includes our news and entertainment media. And what this results in is these offensive assumptions that, for example, if a black suspect is shot by a white cop, it has to be because the cop is racist. Evidence be damned. There can be no other explanation. Or if a black actor doesn't get an Oscar nomination, it has to be because the largely white Academy is racist. No other explanation. So the assumption is that if you're part of the openly despised demographic that is old and white and male, like the Academy or myself, then you must be racist and sexist. It's really tiresome. The race baiting really gets tiresome. But another problem is that this year's obsession with the white nominees ignores the black winners of recent years. The same hated old white male Academy this year chose 12 Years a Slave as last year's Best Picture. And my friend John Nolte at Breitbart noted some interesting figures about this. He wrote that 10 black actors have been nominated in the last 5 years, and 3 of them have won. 7 films focusing on race and racism have been nominated for Best Picture in the last 5 years also. Black nominated actors have won 10% of the time, he calculated, which in the last 5 years, which approximates the 13% of the population that's black. This notion that somehow Hollywood is a hotbed of white racism is exaggerated, to put it mildly.
Well, it's interesting, man. One of our listeners, Dan Fitzgerald, just tweeted me in the middle of your comment there. I know that I look forward to the day when Hollywood movies are made by quota.
Yes. Well,
affirmative action in movies.
What's that?
Affirmative action in movies. I think that's where we need to go. Yeah. Listen, you guys, quickly.
I have some suggestions here. First, I have a couple of suggestions about how to solve all this. First, we should have public executions of every old white male member in the Academy just to wipe the slate clean.
Do we go from oldest to youngest of old white males?
Oh, definitely.
Dude, I got to hide under the bed.
And then thereafter, I think we should do one of two things. We should either just give an Oscar to every single actor, director, and movie that comes out of Hollywood every year and say that you're all the best, or we should just balkanize Hollywood into these racial and sexual camps and create whole parallel award shows with categories like Best Black Actor or Best Latino Director or Best Gender Fluid Cinematographer until everybody gets a shot. And then, then maybe we can all start to get past race.
Well, you know what? I think that, this is all for naught because the Reverend Al Sharpton is on this, you guys. And real short quote here. Quote, the movie industry is like the Rocky Mountains. The higher you get, the wider it gets. This is my favorite part. I have called an emergency meeting early next week in Hollywood with the task force, right? To discuss possible action around the Academy Awards. So, Mark, I think Dude has this under control. What do you think?
Yeah, you can always count on Al Sharpton to create a task force and search for some appropriate actions. So I'm sure that he'll come up with something. I mean, I'd like for him to take my ideas into consideration. Because he doesn't return my calls.
You know what you might want to do, and this may be a fairly self-serving, because you may want to drop our names when you do that.
Okay.
Well, that's true. Yeah. For extra weight.
Well, here's the thing. I was listening to Dennis Miller talking about this yesterday, And Dennis suggested that there was controversy for Best Picture when they went to from 5 movies to 10, because automatically there's going to be some directors of the Best Movie nominees that aren't going to be considered for Best Director, and he's suggesting, like they do for the NCAA basketball tournament, and have every movie get nominated for Best Movie, and go through it that way. Or, obviously the other consideration is that the idea of a meritocracy in America. I mean, the analysis, at least for me, historically, I've always thought Best Movie is the 5,000 some members or so figure out what they think the actual best movie is, or of all of the actors in those movies, which ones were the most impressive as far as acting goes.
How's them? Let's stop the bus for a second. Brother Dennis's comparison to the NCAA tournament is brilliant. I mean, we should have literally, well, maybe there's a finite amount, but we should have movies kind of play a tournament. I mean, the Academy should, along the way, compare. You got to seed them, obviously, but then you have maybe just a mini committee of the Academy. You have them determine which of the two is best, and then they just move on to the finals. I mean, I think that's awesome.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm kidding, but
maybe we should have the actors and directors and all the nominees literally play in basketball tournaments.
Well, that's even better.
We should literally have them. We should divide
Even
them up
better.
into shirts and skins, and let them battle it out on the court.
I immediately, when you say shirts and skins, I immediately have some female actors come to mind that would be something I would do a pay-per-view to watch.
How's them? You know what? I knew you were going there, and I think it's awesome, man.
It's funny that you mentioned that. I forget what it was. I was hearing the other day that there's I think I was reading about Funny or Die, Will Ferrell's Comedy Channel where Zach Galifianakis' show is on and such. But they're tossing around an idea of some sort of show where they get a bunch of professional athletes together and they do a draft of regular type jobs. So you get a bunch of professional football or professional baseball players together, and they're doing a draft for house cleaners or accountants or realtors, the exact same way they do a draft for the professional athletes. That they thought that would be a funny take on that.
Yeah, I think that works. I think these professional athletes should get a taste of real world jobs and real world pay, for that matter, while they're at it. And meanwhile, I should get the pay of professional athletes.
Because that's only fair.
It is fair.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you about that, Mark. But, talking about movies, I want to move to talk to you about American Sniper. I absolutely love the headline for your article, and I'm going to go see that movie next weekend with a couple of friends. I don't know if you've seen it, but the question that you ask is awesome. Is Eastwood's American Sniper Republican propaganda?
Yeah, the reason I wrote that article was because some of the movie critics, left-leaning movie critics, of course, were criticizing the movie for what they called Republican propaganda. And the reason I wrote about this was the irony here is that Eastwood went out of his way to create an apolitical film. And even the critics even acknowledged this. One of the critics, I've forgotten which one. I forgot whether it was the Times, New York Times. New York Magazine, maybe. Anyway, one of the film critics even acknowledged this and said that the film is apolitical, which in itself is a political statement. And then